Hey guys, Coach Dave here. I'm making a quick video thanks to Derek asking me to demonstrate basically what the quarter stroke is going to look like for the upcoming benchmarks for the 200 meter row and the 500 meter row. So real quick, I want you to come over here. I'm going to show you something that's really going to help you on just understanding how these monitors work. So right now I have it set to watts, and I want you guys to realize whenever you're trying to look for max watts or whenever you're trying to just bring your watts up from maybe a low pace, that the way these monitors work is they don't jump up to what wattage you're at. They're going to climb up instead. So I'm going to give you an example. All right, I'm just going to try to get the watts really low. All right, maybe like 50 watts. Let the monitor get it up there. Okay, so 80 watts right now. All right, now in the next few strokes, I'm going to take it up to probably around 700 watts. But watch what happens to the monitor when I go from 80 or 90 watts straight to 100. All right, and here we go. Right now, I'm putting on about 700 watts, but it's climbing instead. And by the time it were to have reached 700 watts, I'd probably already be burned out. So if you're ever trying to practice like a high wattage, you always want to reset the monitor. So watch what happens when I do this. So right now, I just cleared the screen. Now it's at 0. Now I'm going to do the same amount of pressure that I was doing earlier, but instead of seeing it start like 150, 200, 250, 300, watch what happens to that first number. All right, already shot up to 337. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what we came here for. All right, we're talking about the quarter stroke, and I'll go ahead and share a link in the description. You can go ahead and back up so we can get that full view. So the 200 meter row and the 500 meter row are definitely sprints, depending on how long it takes you to do that 500 meter row. If it takes 3 minutes for a 500 meter row, you're not going to do the sprint stroke. If it takes you a minute 30 or maybe a minute 10, something like that, a sprint stroke is going to benefit you. And so the difference between a full stroke, so for a 2,000 meter row, or just while we're taking a normal class, we definitely want to practice full compression. That means the shins are coming up to that vertical line. Think vertical shins at every stroke. So a perfect stroke should look like this. Coming forward, vertical shins, and then you drive through the balls of the feet, swing back and pull in the arms. All right, so that is your typical stroke. Now, with a 500 meter row, if you're trying to get as much energy out and into this erg as possible in a short amount of time, that's not going to do the trick, because doing that full compression, I'm going to limit my strokes per minute, my stroke rate, to probably the high 30s or the very low 40s. So when I don't compress as much and I maybe take a half stroke, which looks like this, now I'm only bending my knees to about a 90-degree angle. Notice they're not vertical anymore. All right, only about 90 degrees. I'm doing everything else the same. Notice I'm not wasting as much time going from here to here and then back to here. So it gives me a little more time to get a higher stroke rate and then get that fan spinning. All right, so for a 500 meter row, I would suggest taking half strokes. Now for a 200 meter row, there's the quarter stroke, which looks really ugly. And I'm going to explain that here in just a moment. All right, the quarter stroke, you're going to be really just bending the knees slightly. All right, talking, not 90 degrees, just looking like this. So I'll take what is a quarter stroke, and this way you're allowed to get the stroke rate even higher than on a 500 meter row. So it would look like this with the compression, just like that, barely bending the knees. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you want to come over here, I'm actually going to bring these foot plates up to make sure I don't flop out. I'm a size 12 and I usually have about 1 to 2 showing between 1 to 2 holes shown in the orange. But so anyways, for the 500 meter row, I'm going to show you this stroke so you can actually get back there. I don't know why I asked you to come forward, sorry. All right, so I'm going to take those half strokes. This is what I would do for like a 500 meter row. All right. Notice my knees. I'm not going all the way forward. All right. And I got it up to about 60 strokes per minute. It was holding over 700 watts. Granted, That's not me trying to go for a 500 meter benchmark, but that would be the technique that I use. Now, let's take it up a notch. 200 meters. This is full pressure, highest stroke rate possible, and this is where it looks ugly. So notice the difference in my legs when I do this. I just reset, here we go, 200 meters. Not gonna do the whole thing, but this is the compression. And notice how much less I was bending the knees, and I was able to bring the stroke rate up to about 71 on that. Now granted, 200 meters, you're doing that for someone that's maybe a beginner, less than a minute, someone that's a little more advanced, probably closer to 30 seconds or less. So anyways, hope this video helped you out. I know I didn't do the full 200 meters while explaining everything, but I wanted you guys to get a good view from the side to see what a full compression stroke looks like, which is what we should use 99% of the time, a half stroke for maybe a 500 meter row, and then a quarter stroke for maybe a 200 meter row or a max watts. So if you got any questions, let me know. I'm going to leave a couple links under the description to show you guys what the fastest 500 meter, the fastest 100 meter row in the world looks like, and just see how that form really differs from a typical rowing stroke. Anyways, good luck on your benchmarks, and direct message me if you guys have any questions.